Hello, welcome everybody to our very first Stonewood State of the Union call of the new administration, the new leadership in Washington, and this next era of U.S. government policy. I'm Becky Swansburg, CEO of Stonewood Financial, and as many of you know, former White House and Capitol Hill staffer. So we have lots happening in Washington, and as always, I'm here to help you understand what it means for our clients, for their retirement approach, and of course, how you can communicate all of this in a way that helps your clients make informed decisions about their retirement. So we got lots to talk about today. Let's dig in. I want to start actually with one of my very favorite quotes. And I just think that it's a quote that is very appropriate to this point in American history and in what's happening. So the quote goes like this: "A politician thinks of the next election, a statesman of the next generation." Now, I like to add a little addition to the end of this to make that saying, a politician thinks of the next election, a statesman thinks of the next generation, and a financial advisor has to think of them both. Now, why do I say that? As we are helping advise our clients through this era in what is happening in Washington, we have to keep our eye on two different factors. First, what is the short-term impact of today's leadership and policy decisions on our clients and their retirement? But two, because retirement is not a short-term endeavor, what is the long-term impact of all the policies being discussed and debated today? So that is exactly what we are going to do. Let's dig in. We got a lot. I got notes and notes. You all know I love my notes. Okay. Now, this is obviously the first in a series of calls that we'll be doing as the Trump administration and House and Senate leadership are introducing and debating new legislation in Washington. So for today's call, I really want to focus us in on what is probably the number one question a lot of us are getting asked by our clients and are probably wondering ourselves, what the heck is happening with the Trump tax cuts? Are we going to get an extension? So, as you all remember, in 2017, when President Trump was having his first administration, Congress passed and President Trump signed into law comprehensive tax reform, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, usually called the Trump tax cuts. Now, those tax cuts reduced income tax bracket rates for millions of Americans, myself, probably every single person on this call. But those reductions, if you remember, are not permanent, and they sunset this year, which means this year Congress has to pass either an extension or a new package of cuts. Otherwise, come next year, all of our tax brackets revert to their older higher rates. So the pressure is on. Now, the pressure is not just on because Congress and the president only have this 1 year to get an extension or other legislation through. It's also because if President Trump cannot get some kind of tax package through this year, it becomes less and less likely that he will be able to get some. No, the House and Senate are both in Republican control, but by the narrowest of margins. We've got like a 2-seat margin in the House and about the same in the Senate. Midterm elections are coming. Historically, the party of the president does take pretty big losses in the House and Senate. Neither party or neither house do the Republicans have many people to lose. So it's pretty likely that Republicans will lose definitely the House, even the Senate, perhaps, in the midterm elections. Now, you should say, Becky, that gives us actually 2 years to debate this, but these are politicians, which means starting next January, they are in election mode and they are campaigning for the next election. So if Trump wants to get the package extended or made permanent, this has to be the year to do it. Now, we had not heard a lot about his plans to extend the Trump tax. He actually only mentioned the word taxes 1 or 2 times. However, this week we have seen some comments and proposals on what he might be planning. So his goal is to make the Trump tax cuts permanent, which would permanently change all of our tax brackets to their existing rates. Many in the House, particularly on the Republican side, feel that that might be hard to do with this kind of majority, and they are looking to just extend the package a few more years. So maybe 4 or 5 years into the future, past the next presidential election, to just give Americans more years at these lower rates. Now, why the debate between making it permanent and an extension? Cost. It all comes down to the money. The Trump tax cuts are expected to cost about $4.1 trillion over the next 10 years with economic inputs, meaning if we cut taxes, we'll stimulate the economy, it'll grow more, we'll have more tax revenue. The final price tag is still estimated to be about $3.5 trillion. So we got to find a way to offset that. This week, the president has kind of indicated that he would like to use tariffs and these new tariffs and his new external revenue service to generate enough revenue to offset the cost of the Trump tax cuts. Now, will that be possible? That is yet to be seen. Most experts say that about a 10% tariff might raise maybe $2 trillion over 10 years. So that's still a lot of extra money that we would need if we tried to make these Trump tax cuts permanent. The other problem that Trump is coming up against as he's counting votes to get a package through is that even in the Republican Party, there is not unity around permanently extending the cuts, particularly with the more fiscal budget hawks and the fiscally conservative wing of the party that does see the price of these tax cuts ballooning. So I suspect while we're talking about making them permanent now, the best we really hope for this year is a short-term extension of these rates, which is still good news for our clients. As you know, many of our clients have all or the vast majority of their retirement savings in these tax-deferred vehicles, 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, TSPs like I had in government. The problem with those accounts is that even though our clients might not have realized it, when they saved in an IRA or a 401k, they actually made a bet that taxes in the future would be lower than they are today. So if that equation does not hold true, they could end up paying more of their income in taxes in the future and having less, of course, to spend on themselves in retirement. Because in these tax-deferred vehicles, all of our tax responsibility is deferred to the future. So if we have some years where tax bracket rates are at these artificially low levels, at their lower levels than their historic norms, we can do some real planning for our clients to help them convert some of their tax-deferred funds into tax-free vehicles while rates are low. We know for sure in 2025 we'll have that opportunity because we're still under the old package of cuts. And it does look like there is a good hope, a good opportunity for those to be extended for a couple more years in the future, which will give us some real time to help clients that are concerned about taxes convert some of those funds into tax-free vehicles at lower rates than they will in the future. Okay. There's another question we got to ask. I would say the number one question I've heard from clients and advisors alike, actually, is this. All right, Trump's president. We had these Biden years where we knew taxes were really they were trying to increase taxes on higher net worth Americans. Now that Trump is in office, can we breathe a sigh of relief? Are lower taxes here to stay? And the answer is, in Washington, unfortunately, nothing is ever here to stay. So I want to also not just look at short term, the path towards extending the Trump tax cuts and what that would mean for helping our clients convert funds, but also long term, what might happen on taxes and where taxes in the future might be headed based on where we are today. So can we breathe a sigh of relief? Here's the argument against it. Retirement is a long-term endeavor. I mentioned that at the start of this call. So when we're trying to help our clients understand where their taxes might be, it's not just where their taxes would be during the next 3 or 4 years while Trump's in office. We really have to help them plan where their taxes might be for the next 10, 20, 30, for some of our clients, even 40 years into the future. And there are a lot of indicators today in our economy, in our budget, in our deficit that indicate long-term taxes are going to have to go up on American savers. So those of you that have joined these calls before know I am a true government geek at heart. I told you I spent some time in the White House, a lot of time on Capitol Hill. I love government numbers and I love slicing and dicing them and seeing what kind of messages we can find inside all that government data that helps us prepare our clients for what's coming. So every year, the Congressional Budget Office puts out numbers on fiscal year revenue and expenditures. Now, their official report normally comes out in March, so we'll be updating you in March on that. But just last week, the Congressional Budget Office did put out some preliminary numbers looking at fiscal year 2024. And last night, as I was really digging kind of into these tables and the expenditures and the revenue, here's where we are. Here's what I found. So in fiscal year 2024, the last fiscal year, our government took in $4.9 trillion of revenue. Now that was up a little from the previous fiscal year where it took in $4.4 trillion. So we were almost at $5 trillion, $4.9 trillion of revenue. As in the past, about half or more of that coming from individual income taxes that us and all of our clients pay. So that's what we brought in, $4.9 trillion. What did we spend, right? We can't know the fiscal health of any of our businesses or our personal finances only knowing what we bring in. We have to know what did we bring in, and then, of course, what did we spend? On the spending side, a couple different categories of spending that caught my eye. The first is mandatory spending. This is spending that Congress does not control. It is spending that is codified in current law. By far, the biggest parts of mandatory spending, you can probably guess them, Social Security and Medicare. A lot of our government spending, Social Security is actually the single largest piece of government spending that we have, but there are also some other things that are mandatory that Congress and the president don't control, things like interest on our debt. So in this last fiscal year, all in, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, other government programs, and about $900 billion of interest that we paid on our debt alone totaled $4.9 trillion of spending. Now, let me tell you what this means. This means that before Congress met, before they gavelled in a single session, before they were passed a single spending bill, if Congress had simply spent the last fiscal year at home, we had already spent every single dollar that our government raised in revenue in fiscal year 2024 on mandatory spending alone. Now, of course, Congress did meet, and Congress did pass appropriation bills, as is their constitutional duty. And that they ended up spending about $1.8 trillion, a little bit up from the $1.7 trillion they spent the previous fiscal year. And now, look, I know a lot of us say, well, Congress spends too much money. That's what DOGE is going to do. We've got to get a hold on this congressional spending. And while that's true, I have to remind ourselves that part of that discretionary spending that Congress appropriates is military and defense spending. That's roads and bridges and transportation and infrastructure spending. So we're never going to be able to zero out that line item. We need a robust defense now more than ever. There's a lot going on in the world where we're not going to be able to dramatically cut that number. So what that means is that we ended up spending about $6.7 trillion in the last fiscal year, and we only raised $4.9 trillion. Now, we've all taken third grade math on this call, I would assume. So we can do subtraction. If we took in 6.7 and we spent, or we took in 4.9 and we spent 6.7, it's leaving us with about a $1.8 trillion deficit. And that's not new for this fiscal year. Last year it was about 1.7, the year before 1.5. We've had in the past 10 years as high as a $2 trillion deficit. The challenge is not just with congressional spending, even though I know that's where a lot of the focus is going to be. The challenge is that our two largest pieces of federal spending, Medicare and Social Security, are projected to grow by many, many factors in the year ahead. And that means over the next decade, it's not that we're going to be able to shrink Social Security and Medicare spending. It's actually going to take more spending just to serve the American people. And that's simply because not of politics, not of Republicans or Democrats, but because of demographics and math. We have a rapidly aging US population that is just putting more demand on Social Security and Medicare. It is going to be very hard for us to have any reduction on mandatory spending. In fact, Most government projections are just working on solutions where we might just slow the growth of those programs. On the congressional side, we might be able to make a little bit of headway. But again, because we still need to fund military and transportation, the two largest chunks of federal funding, there's a limit to how much we can cut from congressional spending. And of course, our deficit or our debt that is currently at $36 trillion, and we owe debt service on that every year. And we're paying those interest rates at a higher rate than we have in the past. Interestingly enough, it was about $900 billion in the fiscal year, but in the calendar year 2024, we did something historic. It cost the US taxpayers $1.1 trillion just to service our federal debt. It's the first time debt service in our nation's history has broken $1 trillion. Don't know that I would hang a gold star for that one, but it was a historic feat. Okay, so why does this all matter for our clients? Well, here's the thing. If your client only wants to be retired for the next 4 years, all we have to worry about is what's happening in the Trump administration and do the tax cuts get extended. But most of our clients don't want to be prepared for just the next 4 years. They want to be prepared for the next 40 years. That's our responsibility as financial professionals. So we have to help them understand that the thing driving all this risk, tax risk and legislative risk in their retirement approach is not actually whether Democrats or Republicans control the House and Senate. It's that every 2 years in America, we have elections, which means every 2 years in our country, we have new government. I hope that the Trump administration and House and Senate leaderships can help keep our taxes lower in the short term. But new elections are coming. And as we saw with the past administration, different administrations very much have different ideas of what they want to do on taxes, who they want to tax, how they want to tax them, when they want to tax them, and at what rate those items should be taxed. So the best that we can help our clients do right now is say, look, we may have been given a gift. We know taxes will be low this year in 2025. And we hope that this year we'll get an extension and we'll have a few more years to help do some planning. But these lower taxes are not here to stay. When we look at the long-term economic, demographic, debt, and spending trends of our nation, it is clear that over our clients' lifetime in retirement, taxes are likely going up for them, especially if they are wealthier savers who have done a good job saving and are generating six-figure retirement incomes or above. I think people $100,000 and above really have had a target on their back with how we could generate more tax revenue as a nation. We have to remind them that if Congress can't get their spending under control and the demographics make it hard for us to reduce spending on Medicare and Social Security, the only way to right the balance sheets of the United States is to generate more revenue. Will some of that revenue come from tariffs? Maybe, but a lot of that revenue is still going to have to come from individual income taxes that our clients pay. No matter what the Trump administration is able to get through in the next 4 years, it can all be undone by the next administration. And that's what I think is important for our clients to understand. It's not that we can't be excited that lower taxes may stay around a little bit longer. It's that we have to use this gift of lower taxes to better prepare for when higher taxes come. I like to say that retirement is not about hope. As financial professionals, we are not hope agents. We don't want to give our clients and prospects just hope that in the future things will be okay. We are agents of confidence. And the greatest gift that we can give our clients is the confidence to know that no matter what happens in Washington, no matter what the next administration may bring and what crazy ideas they have on taxes and who they want to go after and what assets they want to attack, a portion of our clients' retirement approach will be okay because we've used this environment to do the good work of planning to protect them against whatever comes next. This is all 2025 is the year of tax diversification. It's the year of the Roth. If your clients do not have a portion of their retirement approach in tax-free vehicles, they have no protection from the higher taxes that very likely are coming 5, 10, 15 years from now. Let's do some serious work now. Again, this is not that different from how we help clients in every other part of their retirement approach, right? On market risk, we help our clients diversify between, let's say, equities and fixed income so that we have a diversified approach. On income, most of us help our clients diversify between guaranteed income, maybe through an annuity, and variable income so that we have different kinds of assets to prepare for what might come in the future. It's the exact same with taxes. We do not know what is coming and when it is coming, but we do know that now is the time to prepare our clients. We have to make sure that a portion of their retirement approach is inoculated from whatever the next 5, 10, or 15 election cycles might bring. If there's a takeaway from the past maybe 3 or 4 presidential elections, it's that elections matter, and every election, things can change dramatically from one side to another. We cannot have our clients out there just hoping that they can dodge bullets every time a new Congress is elected, a new president is elected, and new legislation is passed. Instead, we have to get a portion of their retirement assets out of the line of fire so that no matter what the future brings, their retirement will be okay. They can live the kind of retirement they had in mind, and the greedy hands of Washington won't disrupt their plans. So that's kind of, I think, the key takeaway. We're going to find that clients kind of are breathing this sigh of relief that maybe we'll get these Trump tax cuts extended and they won't have to worry about taxes. Unfortunately, that is a short-term fix. And it doesn't mean that we can't get them excited that taxes are low today. We just have to use that excitement to say, this is the time to plan. Because taxes are lower today, we can do planning at a discount and set you up so that you don't have to worry what future elections and future administration bring when it comes to you and your retirement assets, and of course, your legacy to the next generation. So that's really where we are today. We will keep a close eye on this. For the Stonewood members on the call, we of course have so many resources to help you tell this story to your clients. We have a whole legislative risk toolkit and rising tax toolkit full of brochures, videos you can use on your website, white papers, and different materials, not to mention all of our software that help analyze these risks for your clients. So if you're looking for something particular or you just want to know what's out there, get a reminder, just get in touch with a member of our team. We are happy to take you through the site. We're happy to help curate some of the materials we have to meet kind of your prospecting, marketing, and client service needs. I will also say that coming next month, we are rolling out tremendous software. This is brand new Roth conversion software that will do 2 things. Number 1, it will analyze, does it make sense in dollars and cents for your client to do a Roth conversion? And if the answer is yes, it will actually model out what is the most efficient way to convert those funds to minimize not only lifetime taxes, but equally important, those other lifetime government fees and surcharges that our clients pay, like IRMAA, so that we make sure that we are optimizing a conversion strategy to let our clients keep as much of their money as they can and give the government, whether it's the IRS or Medicare through IRMAA, as little of our money as possible. So look for that next month. With that, we are also rolling out all new white papers and brochures on helping clients understand IRMAA and how it can impact their retirement and conversion decision. New stuff on taxes, lots of good stuff coming your way. And of course, we'll continue to have these Stonewood State of the Union calls. We try to have them each quarter, but honestly, in this year ahead, I think we're going to have them whenever good stuff comes up. So watch your inbox and we'll let you know when the next call is. As always, it is our passion here at Stonewood to help you have your best year ever in your financial practice. Obviously, taxes, legislative risk, this is a huge year to be communicating these topics to your prospects, to your clients. We are here to help. We want to help you leverage everything that's happening in Washington into positive, impactful conversations for your clients that help them make good choices so that they can live happy retirements. So thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you when we have more news. Have a great day, everyone.